I'm not a big chatbot person. I'll use ChatGPT every once in a while, but recently I've been hesitating. Because I keep hearing that using AI has a hidden cost of energy and water, things that I try not to waste. I started to wonder, should I treat using a chatbot like leaving the lights on or running the faucet? So I talked to a bunch of experts to better understand how I should think about my AI energy consumption and to figure out exactly how much energy it takes every time I do this. The first thing I wanted to understand was whether there was a specific measurable number for just how much energy it takes to ask a chatbot a question. So I went looking for one. It was hard to find. The companies behind AI chatbots generally haven't been very transparent about those numbers. But then I found this. It's a leaderboard ranking large language models by how energy efficient they are. That leaderboard is run by Jaewon Chung, a researcher at the University of Michigan. I asked him if there's a useful average number that could help me understand the energy cost of using a chatbot.
I am indeed asked that question a lot, and typically my answer is that I avoid the answer because there's too much nuance to give one number. There's models with vastly different sizes. You can run them on one hardware, you can run them on another hardware. Some requests are super long, some people just shove in an entire book into ChatGPT or Gemini, whereas someone just say hi. There could be easily 100x difference between the lowest energy consumption and the highest energy consumption. I really try to avoid giving one number, although many people would want that from me.
Okay, end of story, I guess. Thanks for watching. But then in the summer of 2025, some companies actually did start to disclose some numbers. In June, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman published a blog post claiming that the average ChatGPT query uses 0.34 watt-hours of energy. And Google released a paper estimating that the median text query on Gemini consumes 0.24 watt-hours of energy. We can average those out for a simpler estimate, 0.3 watt-hours per query. Okay, but what does that actually mean? Watt-hours are one way to measure energy. The classic 60-watt light bulb, if you leave it on for 1 hour, consumes 60 watt-hours of energy. So a typical chatbot query is roughly the same as running that light bulb for 18 seconds, brewing coffee for 10 seconds, playing a gaming console for 6 seconds, or running a microwave for 1 second. It's worth mentioning that the numbers are higher for generating images or video. One third-party estimate put the energy cost of generating an image at 3 watt-hours, that's like running a light bulb for 3 minutes, and generating a short video at 90 watt-hours, which is like running that light bulb for an hour and a half. That's definitely not nothing. Now, the number for a text prompt, 0.3 watt-hours, that only accounts for the cost of answering a prompt. It also takes energy to train AI models, and that's an important part of the total cost to consider. Research from Google estimates that 60% of its AI energy use goes towards answering prompts and 40% towards training, so the full cost per prompt is closer to 0.5 watt-hours. Those calculations come from Andy Maisley.
I just meet so many people who are under the impression that if you send a single chatbot prompt, or if you just use chatbots regularly, this is somehow especially harmful to the environment.
On his Substack, he wrote a comprehensive guide on how to put the environmental cost of a chatbot prompt in perspective.
My best guess right now is that each one of those is probably going to be around 150,000th of your daily emissions.
You said 150,000?
Yeah. Yeah. You could save so much more CO2 emissions by just like switching out a single burger for a plant-based burger, or just like driving a few feet less, or just choosing to take a walk somewhere instead of driving. Like that can buy you like tens of thousands of chatbot prompts that you can then like feel fine about.
I just got a new passport. This one is expired, but it is now a beautiful little diary of all the places that I've been over the last 10 years. I loved getting to fill this thing up. I think travel can be incredibly rewarding. It can also be very stressful, but when I'm going abroad, there's one app that I use to make sure that staying connected is checked off of my to-do list. This is Saily. It's an eSIM service from the creators of NordVPN, and they have a special offer running right now at saily.com/tunnelvision. Saily lets you instantly download an eSIM straight to your device. You just open the app, pick from over 200 countries, and you're online. You can even keep multiple carriers or numbers active at the same time, and it works on both iOS and Android, but if for any reason your phone doesn't support eSIM, they will give you a full refund. Right now you can save 15% on your plan at saily.com/tunnelvision using the code tunnelvision at checkout. It's a great product and a great way to support the show. So the next time you want to get out and fill up your passport, check out Saily. Talking to Andy, I felt most of my concerns about my individual footprint disappear. Generating the response to a text query takes a negligible amount of energy. Generating an image or a video takes a lot more, but it is still almost nothing compared to plenty of things that we do in our day-to-day lives. But I also started to question how useful of a measurement that an individual footprint even was. Because even if the individual footprint of using this technology is small, the technology's total footprint isn't. Data centers, the massive computing facilities that power AI tools, made up more than 4% of the US's total electricity consumption in 2024. Some projections estimate that number could grow to 12% by 2028. Data centers aren't new, but the quantity and scale of their construction is. If you go to datacentermap.com, you can see the quantity. The site maps the locations of more than 4,000 data centers in the US. Zoom into any one of these locations on Google Earth, and you can see the scale. In Richland Parish, Louisiana, Meta is building a data center big enough to cover this much of the island of Manhattan. It'll consume as much electricity as 2 million households. Most of the electricity for data centers currently comes from fossil fuels. Their power sources are 48% more carbon intensive than the national average, which is part of why big tech companies are investing heavily in nuclear and renewable energy to power data centers. Eventually, the carbon emissions of any individual chatbot prompt should get smaller as we start to power data centers with cleaner sources of energy. But for the people living close to where those data centers are being built, the impact is already here.
Residents are worried about the economy, water, and electricity.
This is a bad deal.
We know the grid cannot take this.
And they don't care about the negative impacts on the environment.
Electricity, the noise levels, the whole environmental issue.
Don't do this. Don't sell out our town.
One of the major concerns for the communities living near data centers is that their electricity bills will increase. And it is true that in the US, the average household's electricity costs have slowly climbed in the past decade. I wanted to understand if that had anything to do with the rise of data centers. Ari Pesco leads the Electricity Law Initiative at Harvard Law School, and Michael Thomas runs CleanView, a clean energy and data center tracker. And they told me the answer is yes, data centers are driving up electricity bills, but not for the reason I assumed.
Most of the rate increases that we're seeing across the country are due to utility spending on poles and wires. The utility business model is to socialize the costs of new infrastructure. That is to spread the costs to everybody who takes service from that utility.
That means the costs of any new physical infrastructure are spread across the electricity bills of everyone in a utility company's service area.
I think that's what's happened in the places that prices are rising, is the data center comes and they say, hey, we want to build a gigawatt data center. The utility says, great, I make all my money when I build power lines and then charge it to customers. They suddenly have to build this new power line that wouldn't have needed to be built if not for the data center. When that happens, then someone's bill goes up in a way that it probably didn't need to if not for the data center.
So in the places where data centers are making electricity bills go up, it isn't just because those data centers require so much energy. It's largely because of just how much new infrastructure utility companies have to build to get those data centers up and running. I really had no idea how much data centers had actually changed the way power utilities were operating.
The utilities' focus is now attracting data centers to their service territory because utilities profit by building infrastructure. That's their basic business model. They make money by building stuff, and there's no better excuse now for the utilities to build something than to deliver energy to a giant energy-sucking warehouse.
I set out to figure out whether the high energy costs of AI mean that I should try to use it more consciously. Should I treat using a chatbot like leaving a light on for too long? And I learned that if you're just submitting text queries, the amount of energy per prompt is negligible. It's not really worth worrying about. Creating images, on the other hand, can take 10 times more energy, and creating videos can take hundreds of times more. And given just how much platforms are pushing image and video generation just about everywhere you look, that part does feel like a cause for concern. But still, it's important to put those numbers in context, because compared to tons of things that we do without thinking twice, it's ultimately not that much energy. But the real story isn't about individual footprints. It's that training and running AI systems is becoming a sizable part of our total energy consumption. And the consequences of that growth aren't evenly distributed. They land hardest on the communities where data centers are being built. Not necessarily because the data centers demand so much electricity, but because all the new infrastructure that will be needed to power them is expensive. And utility companies cover those costs by spreading them across the bills of regular people. Those costs may start small, and they might be invisible to most of us, but this technology is radically reshaping the world around us, and someone is already footing the bill. Thank you so much for watching. This was a fun piece to produce. It's a story with a lot of complexities that requires a lot of nuance. I think that's really where the power of journalism comes from, is following your curiosities all the way through to a conclusion and coming out on the other side with better understanding. Doing this kind of journalism is why I'm so excited about New Press. It's a new platform that I'm building along with Johnny Harris, Sam Ellis from Search Party, and hopefully all of you. New Press brings your community input and your perspectives into our reporting process from the very beginning. You can sign up for our waitlist today and be one of the first to join when we launch. All right, see you next time.